First off, the context. Pathful as a whole was greatly inspired by a movie called Stalker, which I haven't seen, and the novel Roadside Picnic, which I haven't read. But nevertheless, some 50 odd years ago, there was a massive catastrophe of unspecified origin that left a small countryside zone in Eastern Europe, called the Zone, which contains numerous artifacts, which is, objects with special abilities. The people that are exposed to the zone often give birth to people with supernatural abilities, the mutants. These mutants are then sent to the lab, which is essentially the SCP facility, and that is where Pathful holds its first song in the timeline. Comfort Zone is sung from the perspective of Dimitri, or Dima, but much of what it says is more so a reflection of his co-worker, Dr. Temnova. They're both mutants, but Temnova is technically legally employed by the lab, while Dima is just another project that Temnova found is useful with experiments. Still, he is very loyal to the lab. The song opens with Temnova listing a couple of Dima's painkillers and anti-migraine drugs. It is unclear whether his migraines are a result of experimenting, his use of telepathy, or if it's genetic. The one drug that's out of place in this list, in my opinion, is activated charcoal, which according to Wikipedia is used to cure poisonings that originate from the mouth. I don't know what this is helping with in this case. The sequence ends with Temnova switching from her jovial tone to tell Dima to shut it, establishing she's adherent to the lab more than Dima, although we'll soon see that that isn't exactly the case. The first part of the song has Temnova trying to relate to Dima by repeating, "I know what it means, how it feels," and telling him that they are pretty similar, that she's just a better version of him. It also mentions her disgust for most other mutants, which is kind of odd now that I think about it. Actually, no, it's not. Okay, listen, the lore doc says that she likes her job, and at first thought that means that she likes mutants, but then again, she probably just means that she likes torturing them. Anyway, the pre-chorus of "It's noble to serve as means to meet an end" could be Dima coping with the borderline torture that he's inflicting upon people for pretty unjust reasons, an idea which is even more exemplified in the chorus, with lines like, "We do what must be done," and "The only use for a motor not meant to start is to become an expendable part." This also serves to portray the projects as dehumanized, and making it clear that Dima feeling sympathy for them is an outlier. Also, I should mention, the amygdala is the part of the brain that is responsible for emotional responses, so him saying, "I wonder if my amygdala is going numb," is implying that he's becoming numb to the horrors he is committing. Next, we see his checkup with Temnova, similar to what we saw in the beginning. Even though he does have loyalty to the lab, in this scene is the first time we see him smile, showing that the only reason he has loyalty is because he likes Temnova. This is about to come into play, since the lab has been seeing a decline in funding, and has decided to terminate Dima for being a potential risk, despite Temnova's objections. Whether Temnova thinks of Dima as an actual friend or just an experiment with a lot of potential is probably up to interpretation. I say probably, because parts of the story are exposited on Fairy's Patreon and Tumblr, neither of which are sites I really use. The sequence here shows us Dima's reaction not only to the fact that he's going to die, but to the discovery of what he truly means to the lab. To them, he's just another project. Along with the shots of him breaking down in panic, there are also some shots of Temnova trying to overturn the decision, and a snippet of the actual order. I'm not going to try to translate the whole thing, partially because I'm not that good with Russian, but also because my Southern Slavic brain is allergic to having two of the same letter next to each other. Also, this part isn't important, but I do want to let you know that Fetovkin is a word spelled with 3 T's.
If God isn't dead, he sure is to the Germans.
Then, Temnova tells Dima that they're gonna have to part ways, but from the lore doc we know that she hopes this will push him to flee, that she believes it'd be a shame to waste such potential. And, with the line "so she says" coming out different, Dima shows that he's decided to escape. Waking up from the lab's control, he says, "I have an objection, not one you can overrule, since men like me have the right to be cruel," which implies he is finally deciding to abuse his mutant powers. In his plan, he also uses Katya, which has the mutation of rapidly expanding flesh, and uses that to break a hole in the facility as Temnova looks on at Dima with pride. During this part, as the lyrics say, "As you look at me from above," they're referring to the lab's doctor's pompous view of him. Being too good equals being not good enough refers to the fact that he was too strong to keep around. And at the end when he says, "just as disposable as any other part, that's all I am, all I've been from the start, to you pathetic lot," he is accepting how little they think of him. With the final shot of the video, he and Katya have escaped, and Dima notices a girl being cornered by some thugs, which then leads into Punch It Punk and the video ends.